Hello everyone and welcome to the Week 15 preview show. This week we have 3 conference championships to cover, a number of players who could make huge impacts in those games, and a look ahead to what is coming up this Saturday when it regards the playoff rankings. We'll dive into all of that in just a few moments, but if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel as it really helps us out. And if you stick around to the end of the video, you can find out how you and some of your cards can be featured in one of our upcoming episodes later on this season. Let's begin by taking a look at what's in the box.
What's in the box?
Our Week 15 ONIT preview box features our locally sourced but nationally relevant headlines for all of our ONIT teams, including Ohio State, Boise State, and Alabama, who all play in their conference championships this weekend. We'll look at what players from those teams who might get slabbed up on Sunday. And lastly, we'll take a look at Saturday's checklist to show you what games you should watch when it comes to how the final domino will fall according to the College Playoff Ranking Committee. Let's begin right now by talking about our Friday night conference championship game. Our first conference championship game kicks off Friday night at 8 Eastern Time with the Boise State Broncos hosting the UNLV Rebels. It's a rematch from a game earlier this season where Boise State easily handled UNLV on their home turf, and they're going to get to see the Rebels one more time. The scenario for Boise State is pretty chaotic, but there is a pathway for them to make the college football playoff. It would take a lot of help. Basically, the Broncos would need to win this game in commanding fashion over UNLV. Troy needs to beat James Madison, and then Duke needs to win the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship over Virginia. All of that has to happen just for Boise State to have a potential chance to finish as one of the top 5 highest rated conference champions, as the top 5 highest rated conference champions all get in to the college football playoff. It's the same sort of loophole that Boise State used to get a bye last year. It could be the loophole that gets the Broncos into the college football playoff this year. The question would be, would they be ranked higher than a 9-4 Troy team with a win over JMU? Would they be ranked higher than an 8-5 Duke team with a win over number 17 Virginia? That's the question for Boise State. Highly unlikely, but they do have the opportunity to get in if all the dominoes fall correctly for the Broncos. Again, it's an 8 o'clock kick from Boise, so 6 Mountain Time for those of you who are watching in Boise, but should be a fun one. Again, Boise State dominated UNLV earlier this year. Broncos really took off offensively in that game as Boise State managed to score 56 points against the Rebels. It was a 56-31 victory for the Broncos. Both these teams have outstanding offenses. Whose defense will show up to play? That is the question. Maddox Madsen also making his return for Boise State after a lengthy absence. He's been out with a lower body injury for the past 3 weeks now. He is coming back, and will it make a big difference for the Broncos? That is the question. Will be a fun one to watch, though. And again, Boise State will be results watching if they do win this game. Next up, we have the SEC Championship game where the number 9 Alabama Crimson Tide play host to the number 3 Georgia Bulldogs. This is a 4 p.m. Eastern Time kick from Atlanta. Should be a fun game at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium there in the ATL. Georgia trying to avenge a loss that they suffered at the hands of Alabama earlier this season. Alabama trying to beat Georgia in the SEC Championship game again, as Alabama already beat Georgia this year 24-21. They did give up 227 yards on the ground in that game, but they jumped out to a quick lead, 14-0, managed to weather the storm and hold on for that 24-21 victory. Ty Simpson, as of late, has not been playing his best football for Alabama. He's done what he's needed to do to get them some wins, but in a game against an elite Georgia offense and a really strong Bulldog defense, Simpson's going to have to be on his mark. Ryan Williams finished last week in the win against Auburn without a single target. Can Alabama go beat Georgia without Williams playing much of a role or impact? We'll see. Or do they make a concerted effort to get him the ball and get him more involved, because he is a big-time playmaker that can bust off a long one anytime the ball is in his hands? That'll definitely be something interesting to watch. Alabama's run defense in this game will certainly be a key factor. Like I said, they gave up 227 rush yards when the two teams met in the regular season. Alabama's run defense has been much improved since that game, though, and you got a guy like Deontay Lawson patrolling the middle of the field. He's an instrumental part of this Crimson Tide defense. Will he make some big stops? Can Alabama keep it going on the offensive side to get their defense off the field or keep their defense off the field? Last time these two met up, Alabama was 13 of 19 on third down. That kept the defense rested. Again, kept the ball game in their control as they managed to eke out the 3-point victory. So those are all things to watch going into this game. Once again, it's at 4 o'clock Eastern. It'll be on ABC from Atlanta. And if Alabama wins, they will be the SEC Conference champion. The only question there for the Crimson Tide, as they are assured the playoff spot, is would they do enough with a win over Georgia to get a bye? Because Georgia currently holds one of the 4 first-round byes, according to the playoff committee. So can a win flip-flop them or at least get Alabama up to number 4? Then you've got all the logjam between them two. Like, does number 5 Oregon, does number 6 Ole Miss benefit from Georgia losing? Does Alabama not jump them? Those are the questions that we're going to have for the committee, of course. It's of my opinion that if you don't play in your conference championship game, you should not be rewarded for a team in front of you losing in their conference championship game, especially when we have a number 3 versus number 9 matchup like this. But that's all stuff that we'll find out if Alabama is to win this game on Sunday. And boy, that will be a lot of our talking points on Sunday if we do see Oregon or Ole Miss benefit from an Alabama victory. Our final conference championship game is number 2 Indiana, undefeated at 12-0 against Ohio State, number 1 in the country, 12-0. A battle of unbeatens happening at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. This will be an electric ball game as one of these teams is going to suffer their first loss of the season. The only question is, who is it going to be? It's practically a home game for Indiana, but Buckeye supporters travel well, so you should see a nice mix of fans in the stands for this game, and it is going to be up to the passing game for Ohio State if they're going to win this ball game. That is one of the key factors we're going to be looking at. Julian Sayin, the quarterback, Heisman favorite, has been outstanding. Maybe not Heisman favorite, but certainly Heisman hopeful. If he wins this game, he might be the Heisman favorite. He's thrown the ball to Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate all year long, been slinging the rock all over the field. Can Ohio State continue to do that against an Indiana pass defense that's only given up 4 touchdowns all season? Indiana certainly hasn't played a passing offense to the caliber of Ohio State this year. It's very easy to keep teams off the scoreboard when you're playing against competition that maybe is a little bit lesser, but Ohio State is the number 1 team in the country for a reason. They have lit up the air they've lit it up through the air against every team that they have played this season, and you can't expect it to be much different against this Indiana team. It's just simply the identity of the Buckeyes this year. And on the defensive side, they're going to have to find a way to get to Fernando Mendoza and mess him up, mess with his timing, get him off of his spot. Mendoza has been one of the quickest passers in college football this year. He gets the ball out incredibly quick. Indiana has beefed up their offensive line. When you think about Indiana and offensive line prospects, it's not something that, over the past 10, 15, 20 years, you think about, wow, Indiana really gets great offensive line play. That has certainly changed in the Cignetti era. Can those O-linemen for Indiana hold on against these Buckeyes pass rushers? A guy like Caden Curry, who has 9 sacks already this year, or Arvell Reese, who has 6.5 sacks on the year. Those are going to be the questions. The trenches is going to be where this game is more likely won or lost when it comes to getting pressure on the quarterbacks for both of these teams and just creating running lanes, for guys like Bo Jackson, James Peoples. Can Ohio State get good early down yardage, set up the play action pass, get themselves into 2nd and short, 3rd and manageable situations, and keep the offense on the field, wear out the defense? Those are all the things that I'm looking forward to in this game. It's an 8 o'clock Eastern time kickoff from Indianapolis, and whoever wins this game will be the Big Ten champ, will be the number 1 seed in the country going into the college football playoff. But both of these teams are safely into the playoff, regardless what happens in this one. Let's move on and take a look at our players now who are going to be playing in these contests that may end up getting slabbed up if they have some big performances. It's time for Conference Championship Slab Watch. All of these players are trying to win a ring in their respective conferences, and we'll have one player from each of our teams on both sides of the ball. Let's begin with NIL for all on the defensive side and talk about Boise State defensive back Jeremiah Irby. He's been a turnover machine this year, tied for the team lead with 4 interceptions. He's also recovered a fumble, been a part of 5 takeaways this year for the Broncos, and he's had 8 pass deflections. He's going to be a guy that you need to watch out for because if he can cause some havoc in the secondary for Boise State, fly to the football, make some tackles, knock some balls out, pick off some UNLV passes from Calandria, then Boise State could be in for another big victory like they had last time they played UNLV. And on the other side for Boise State, to get that big offensive victory, they're going to need their best play from Maddox Madsen, the quarterback returning from injury. 15 touchdowns to 7 interceptions so far this year for Madsen. Season has not been the same as it was last year when he managed to avoid throwing a number of interceptions. So the Broncos are going to need him to be at his best, hitting his open receivers and finding the holes in the UNLV secondary that has been very leaky this season. Madsen trying to pass the 2,000 yards threshold as well this year. Like I said, he's missed a number of games this season, but he only needs 6 passing yards to get to 2,000 on the year. Should be able to do that, no problem, and will be a key factor in whether Boise State wins or loses this Mountain West Championship game. Heading back over to the defensive side of the ball, let's talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide and their quest for an SEC championship. We'll talk about Deontay Lawson. He recovered the game-winning fumble last week against Auburn. It was a huge play for the Crimson Tide as Auburn was moving the football, but all of a sudden the ball came loose on the turf after it was punched out of Cam Coleman's hands. Lawson fell on it, got the ball back to the Crimson Tide, and they managed to escape Jordan-Hare Stadium with a victory. They're going to need him once again this weekend. He's the second leading tackler on the team. He does have 3 pass deflections as a linebacker, and he's recovered 2 fumbles this year and forced 1. He's a problem when it comes to the turnovers. He's great in the run game, stuffing gaps and bringing down ball carriers, and Alabama needs him to play well if they're going to stop this Georgia rushing attack. On the offensive side for Alabama, it's got to be Ty Simpson. He's played really well against top 25 opponents this year. Was a little bit shaky last week against Auburn, but did enough to get the victory for the Crimson Tide. And Alabama is going to need him to be on his A game once again, like he was when they took down Georgia the first time this year. He's already gone over 3,000 passing yards this season. It's 28 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions, and he's only taken 22 sacks on the year, as well as Simpson. Can he stay upright against the Georgia pass defense, and can he make some good throws? He's had issues with the interceptions over the last 3 games for Alabama. Can he clean up those turnovers and get the Crimson Tide back where they belong at the top of the SEC? That is the question for Ty Simpson, and that's why he is on potential slab watch going into this game against Georgia. And lastly, for the Ohio State Buckeyes, let's talk about Caleb Downs with the defensive side of the football. He is tied for the team lead with 2 interceptions. Absolute menace in the secondary. He's all over the place, flying around. He makes a ton of tackles as well. For safety, you don't normally see extremely high tackle numbers, but he's got 52 on the year. He's one of the leaders of the defense, making sure the secondary is always in the right spots as well. And it's going to be his leadership that really Ohio State is going to rely on more than anything when they're going up against a passer like Mendoza. Everybody's got to be in the right spots. You can't have any coverage busts. Otherwise, Indiana will take full advantage. So it's going to be up to Downs being a vocal leader on the field, being one of the captains of the defense at that safety spot to make sure the secondary is aligned and that they can shut down this dangerous passing game that Indiana brings each and every time they step on the field. On the offensive side for Ohio State, it is none other than Jeremiah Smith. Of course, he has to be on slab watch this weekend. He came back from his lower body injury against Michigan to catch a nice touchdown. He is one of the best, if not the best, receivers in the country an absolute weapon with the ball in his hands. Anytime he touches it, he is in danger of taking it to the house, as evidenced by his 11 touchdowns already this season. He needs 58 receiving yards in this game to cross 1,000 receiving yards for the year. He is just an absolute monster at the wide receiver position. And with Julian Sayin playing as well as he has, it has helped Jeremiah Smith have a great season. Can he get another touchdown in this game? Up his total to 12 on the year. He caught basically the game-winning touchdown against Notre Dame in the national championship as a freshman for Ohio State last year. What can he do in this year's Big Ten championship game? It's the first one that he's playing in since Ohio State didn't make it to the conference championship last year. So what kind of mark can Smith put on this game, as he's already put on so many big performances already in his very, very young career? Let's move on to the checklist and see what games we're going to be watching on Saturday, along with the players you should know about going into those contests. This is the Week 15 checklist. All the names and games to watch on Conference Championship Saturday. We'll start in the morning. This is our non-ONIT game, but you should be watching number 11 BYU at number 4 Texas Tech, because it does have implications on our at-large ONIT teams. Then check out number 3 Georgia at number 9 Alabama, before finishing your night with Indiana at Ohio State in the Battle of the Unbeatens. Cardinal Tate, Jeremy Bernard, Caden Curry, James People, Xavier Brown. All players that you should be watching on both offense and defense for Ohio State and Alabama on Saturday when they try to win the SEC and the Big Ten Conference Championship games. Should be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see if all 3 of our ONIT teams can pull it out over the course of the weekend. And hope you enjoyed watching the video, because that's all the time we have here in the Week 15 preview. But don't fret, we'll be back on Sunday to recap it all and take a look at those final college football playoff rankings. Should be a ton of fun. Please do hit that subscribe button and the like if you enjoyed the video. It really helps us out here at ONIT and helps us bring more incredible content your way. And like I said, if you want to be featured in a video coming up, all you got to do is drop your hits at the link down below. We'd love to see any of your amazing polls and share them with the community. We're still waiting our first submission, so if you want to be the first person to get your cards into us, use that link down below or in the description, or hit us up on social media with the hashtag ONITGravity, or you can tag me directly at Leonard_ONIT. Either way, we'd love to see your polls and share them with everyone. Hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the Conference Championship games, and we'll see you right back here on Sunday for plenty more fun. Thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.